Let's get to this first Thanksgiving thing.
Okay.
Because people will be disappointed if we don't.
Yep.
I read the book. No tables, no tablecloths, no forks.
Right, no forks.
They had knives
fingers
in their hands,
Yep.
and they stood around.
Right.
And the first Thanksgiving, you're right, marked the conclusion of a remarkable year. 11 months earlier, the Pilgrims had arrived at the tip of Cape Cod, fearful and uninformed. They had spent the next month alienating and angering every Native American they happened to come across. Just did a good job of that.
Yep.
By all rights, none of the Pilgrims should have emerged from the first winter alive. Like the French sailors before them, they all might have been either killed or taken captive by the Indians. That it had worked out differently was a testament not only to the Pilgrims' grit, resolve, and faith, but to their ability to take advantage of an extraordinary opportunity. Placing their faith in God, the Pilgrims might have insisted on a policy of arrogant isolationism, but by becoming an active part of the diplomatic process in southern New England, by sending Winslow and Hopkins to Sowams, by compensating the Nossets for the corn, and most important, by making clear their loyalty to the Massowit as at the hurly-burly in Nemasket, they had taken charge of their own destiny in the region. So what we talk about now is, we call that outreach, I guess.
Yes.
And which I still find totally incredible, because they were in lousy shape when they got here. They did not know the language nor the culture and so forth.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, it is. They had lost half their number during that first winter. They were barely alive as a community. And but for his own reasons, Massasoit decides it's in our best interest to form an alliance with this pitiful group of English people. And they could have still easily blown it, particularly given their past history in America. But they pulled it together. And I think you have to look to Edward Winslow, who was the first diplomat of Plymouth Colony, and Governor Bradford. They decided to take diplomacy as an active force rather than something that's passive. And they really treated the Indians as a people that were their equals when it came to
and that's probably the key to the whole thing. And it's really the key to diplomacy in any time, in any era.
Absolutely. If you approach it as, we are the ones that, it's our pleasure that you serve, it's going to go in a bad direction. And that's what would happen in the future generations. But in that first group, that first generation, they both felt they needed each other for their cultural, if not literal, survival. And they both felt they owed each other a debt. And they didn't forget that lesson for the next 50 years. And, it was a lesson that it would have been nice if that had been passed on to the next generation.
But you see, the other piece of that, I guess, is the leadership. You had Bradford, and you had Winslow, and you had some others. And you can, I think, look at them and what they did and how they did it, and say they were filled with greatness. Absolutely,
and this is the important part of any story that involves history. It comes down to the individuals. It's not just faceless groups of social forces. It's individuals that make specific decisions that influence history. And you had Edward Winslow, who emerged as the foremost diplomat not only in America but in England. Cromwell, once the Civil War had erupted in England, would look to him as recognize that this guy was very good at this, and it made all the difference.